As a baseline, this anime is bad by principle. Hello everyone, welcome to the Weeb initiative. I'm your host, the Weeb. This is the show where every other week I'll be talking about anime, manga, and everything in between. This week, following our theme for this season, I will be talking about the latest, somewhat, season of Love Live to come out for the mainline ones. So, the first season of Love Live Superstar. So, before I start, some disclaimers. This review will only cover the first season of Love Live Superstar. The second season I will cover in the next episode, and that's it. Other disclaimers, spoiler alert, I'll be talking about all of the things that happened this season, even though there are no plot twists or not really something that would spoil the experience. Would you try to watch it? That being said, let's start with the stats. So, Love Live Superstar was originally an anime that started airing in July 2021 and ended in September 2021. It has 12 episodes for the first season, and it also had, I don't know if a manga adaptation or continuation, that started as one volume in March 2023. This is a mainline one, so basically, I will talk more about this later, but it has the same hallmarks of Sunshine rather than what they did with Nijigasaki, and I will talk more about this later, but easy to say, for this first season, I don't like it in some specific cases, but even though I don't like it, I have to give credit where credit is due and say that this is actually a fairly okay, really, season, all things considered. So, let's start with the story. Basically, we start the story with our main protagonist, Shibuya Kano. In this case, I only remember her surname because Shibuya is the same surname as Rin from Cinderella Girl. So, you know, some things just... I remember this because I remember this, okay? It's not because she's special, but also she's the main character for the series, so whatever. Going from there, we see our first shot is her singing and playing the guitar in her middle school, and so we have this really quick flash forward where she wants to enter the music program of a certain school. For the sake of, I don't actually remember the name of the school, I will not mention the name of the school. It's not really important because even the location rather, where this takes place is not really a real place. It would be, let's say, from what I could find, the neighborhood that this goes on, it would be like between 3 neighborhoods in Tokyo, so we can just say it's inside more or less Tokyo, but still. The thing is, she wants to enter the music program for a certain school, and we see that she's already talented in singing and playing the guitar. But then we see in this one shot that she actually chokes up in an audition that they have, and so she can't really enter the music program and goes to the general curriculum. And then we get basically the hook for this whole thing, where even though she loves to sing, she chokes up every time she needs to actually sing in front of public. She has stage fright, basically. And so, for all that's worth, she is really, she has a complex about it, and so she basically cages herself up, trying not to sing, even though she likes it, throughout her school year. And as she enters the first school year of this school, of the new school she's entering, she meets a girl, an exchange student called Keke Tang. I would just say it's really peculiar that they added 2 Chinese characters in 2 different seasons, but given that Nijigasaki was already something inside the game, I will not really mention much about it. I just feel it's kind of unusual that they would do that. But Tang Keke, or they actually call her Cuckoo for some reason. I don't know how phonemes work in Japanese in that instance, but they call her Cuckoo for the most part. And she is a exchange student from Shanghai, and she basically moved to Japan in order to be a school idol. Much like Lanzo from Nijigasaki, if you ask me, but either way, not the same. Not the same. The thing is, we get to meet Cuckoo, and so she confronts basically. It's a really funny interaction because we get this shot right out of the gates that Cuckoo is basically in a pretty. It's not this. It's the same energy, but it's not really the same length or same style as Mako from Kill la Kill. So she talks a lot. It is really unbelievable how many lines they gave her. I think she's the one character in the whole series that has the most lines, and she talks a lot, and she's always this hype energy. It's really nice to see such a good work. The VA did a really great work on that, and so it is a really strange first interaction where Cuckoo really likes Kanon's voice, but Kanon is embarrassed about it and doesn't want anything to do with singing at that point. And Cuckoo, at the same time, she is in the general curriculum, so she's not in the music curriculum where you would think someone that wants to be an idol would be, but she's in the general curriculum. And so Cuckoo's idea for the whole thing would be to create School Idol Club and to have this dream of her to be a school idol and so on and so forth. And that culminates basically in having Kanon try to help at the very least. She pleads Kanon to join up as an idol, as someone for the club, but Kanon refuses and refuses and refuses, and so we get the first episode basically really building up this whole thing where Kanon doesn't want to sing, but Cuckoo was basically trying to convince her. And at the end of the first episode, we have the whole setup where they're both in the general curriculum. Kanon has this whole complex about being an idol. Cuckoo wants to help her not only overcome the complex of being able to sing in front of people, but also she wants Kanon to be an idol with her. And not only that, but also we have the same old trope of all the mainline Love Lives where the student council doesn't approve of the School Idol Club. That goes then to the second episode where we have a bit of a follow-up for that. So we strangely for Love Live actually, we have some more development from Cuckoo, from Kanon, and some other characters that appear. The student council president, I will not talk much about her because I will get to that, but I don't like her in some instances. And also one of the childhood friends of Kanon, Chisato or Chichan as they call her, that is inside of the music program, but she's actually a dancer, so the whole thing kind of doesn't actually work out. That being said, we have then the third episode where we have our first presentation. They finally they go through director to actually get the club approved and so on and so forth. And basically they actually go out, do a presentation. It kind of flies a bit near what the first presentation for Sunshine was, that they kind of begin the presentation, they are kind of going well, but then something happens. It kind of gets that dreadful part where, oh my god, they're going to cry in the middle of stage, which would be really, really not cool, because at this point they are just cute. But then people start doing an actual flash mob to help them, and the whole presentation goes well. The first song that they actually do, it's not really my jam, but it is serviceable, and that's most of the songs for the season, I will already say. But then we get the fourth episode where we have the introduction of our, let's say, third official member, let's say, in Sumire. Sumire is someone that was already a child actress. At some point, she is also a first year. So every one of the girls is a first year except for the last one that joins up You can already guess who it is, but I will not say at this point. So Sumire was a child actress. At some point she ended up basically falling off just to follow school and so on and so forth. They don't actually give a real explanation of why, but then we kind of learn throughout her first episode in introduction that she wants to go back to show business, and so the whole episode is basically she wants to join up to be the center, but then basically drops out as soon as everyone, Kuku and Chisato, basically say that Kano is the center because she's the one that is most prevalent and so on and so forth. And so Sumire basically falls off that, and so the whole thing kind of goes the way that you would think it goes, and Kano ends up convincing Sumire to join up. Even though she's not the center, she will be part of the club. Then we have the next two episodes where we have this whole arc where Kano is trying to convince, more or less, not only Kano, but really Kano and the main rivals for this series, a duo called Sunny Passion. Then they are basically trying to, let's say, convince Chisato to actually join up. And then we have also unusual, an actual 2-episode development of why Chisato, even though she is the childhood friend and the closest person to Kano, why she isn't officially in the club. And so we have this whole development where we have the flashback of how she was bullied when they were really young, and Kano was the one that came to save her, and she eventually wanted to do something independent of Kano just to prove to herself that she was strong, she was independent. And then we have this whole thing where she wants to actually win a dance competition in order to validate herself to join up to the club. It is a really cute scene. The whole development is pretty, I would say, pretty well done. It's pretty nice to watch. It's not really something that goes heavy, it's like sometimes in the Idol Master, but it feels at the very least a good development. We have the introduction of the wishes, the desires of the character, and then the development, the whole thing. Even though they don't actually show much of it, they don't actually show the struggle, really, the competition or the pressure that builds up. They really just laugh it off and just resolve it with 1 or 2 scenes. The idea, the way they actually present it, it's pretty nice. And it ends up with Chisato joining up, and now there are 4 people in the club. The song that they actually present in this episode was actually pretty good. I don't have the name of any of the songs I'm mentioning here, sorry, I didn't actually do my due diligence this time. Then the thing is, we have this really good presentation, and at this point we are on episode, I think, 7. Episode 7 begins with basically, let's say, the debrief of the last episode, and now that Chisato is here being let's say the main dancer for the group, she creates the choreographies and so on and so forth. She starts training the girls in order to build up his stamina and so on and so forth, and the whole thing kind of works out that way. Then we have this one happening at the school where, at this point, right, just to give a bit of context, the student council president didn't want the school club, the idol school club, to exist in the first place, but it was hamstrung by the headmaster, the director. And then after that, if she's already not pleased with that, add to that they want to make the first school festival for the school, and only the girls from the music program will participate. This already, and this is the part where I need to actually mention it, this whole season has a lot of logistical problems with it, most of which I want to comment at the end, more or less. I will just comment over what happens really at this part, and then I will kind of comment the whole thing in one go. The thing is, I watched this one with the people in the Discord. We did a little watch party, and basically it was pretty funny to actually sit down with people that really like to watch anime in this manner, to actually comment over it, criticize it, and react to it. It was pretty nice. link in the description. Not a plugin, but it's still a plugin, whatever. Then going back, so episode 7 we have this whole thing where the student council president announces that only the music program girls will be part of the school cultural festival, and then we have this whole all the other girls being really displeased with it, and so they start to basically not ganging up on her, but it is not nice. And so we get this whole thing where she's basically hated by everyone, and the girls from the idol club want to actually help her because they see the amount of hate that she's getting, and basically that's not nice. And come on, this is a Love Live thing, you wouldn't let them do that, right? And so we have this whole thing where they enter her house basically uninvited, and she's actually rich, she has a maid and so on and so forth, but then they get a glimpse of the internal struggle that she has, where her money apparently is running out. She lives alone with only the maid because her mother passed away, and apparently her father abandoned them years ago, and so the money is running out, and so they dropped the bomb that money is running out, so the school is probably going to close down if we don't have enough applicants. I can't really, come on man, third season in a row, you can't be serious that's the only plot point that you have for the whole series. I mean, I know the franchise is something, and I know the idea for the first one was good, but come on, 3 seasons already, create something else. Nijigasaki did something really out there, not really out there, but something outside of that framework, and it was the best season ever. Come on, I will talk more about this later. The thing is, we then have the whole thing where in episode 7, episode 8, we have the whole development where we learn that she didn't want the school idol club because apparently her mother was a school idol for the school, the first, let's say, school idol club of the school, and then for some reason they don't actually have records of it, so she thinks that her mother regretted being a school idol so much so that she hid it from her. And then there's this whole thing where she wants them to help her, but not as school idols. And then the whole thing kind of goes on a whole mess and so on and so forth. The thing kind of works out at the end with some really bad logic and really over-the-top scenes, but it ends up that everyone will help with the culture festival. We have then the presentation of the now added to the group, the student council president, and then she's added to the club, and so she's the 5th and surprisingly last character for this season to actually go into the club. So this season only has 5 girls in the club, which is pretty unusual. Really, at the very least they changed the formula on that. They didn't have 9 girls from the get-go. And then we have their presentation, the school festival. It is, I would say, it's pretty bland, the song. I feel it's really safe. Then again, most of the songs are safe, but some of the songs are actually good. Then we have episodes at this point 9 and 10, where we have, for some reason, more development from the character. So we already had some development for Sumire on her first appearance, her first episode, and then at this point we have the entering Love Live. Obviously that is something that needs to happen, and for the first step, the first phase of Love Live, they need to actually compose a song that has rapping, and I will kind of enter in this a bit later, but they actually have to compose a special song for a theme that they have, and the one that is actually the best in the club at rapping is Sumire for some reason, because she was a showbiz, so she can actually add the lib. It's a kind of call-out answer, but it's okay. It's okay. For that reason, it's not that reason that it becomes bad, but thing is, she's the better one. And so then they choose to have her as the center, so the whole thing kind of gets to the point where she's feeling the pressure, and although she wanted to be the center when she entered, now that she is touted to be the center, she actually wants to drop it and doesn't actually want to do it because she has this whole inferiority complex where she thinks that every time that she's going to get the main role, something goes wrong, so she should be always the secondary or something like that. It is pretty sad, pretty relatable though. I think it is something pretty nice. And on the side of that, right, I glossed over this detail, but throughout this whole series, Kuku and Sumire, they have this love-hate relationship, mostly hate. For the most part, they throw jokes at each other, they beat each other over some silly things and so on and so forth. But you can see that there is a ship being built there, and in this instance specifically, we actually have a plot point that basically appears that Sumire discovers, only her discovers, that if Kuku fails at being a school idol, she goes back to Shanghai, and none of the other girls know that besides Sumire, and so Sumire confronts her about it. They basically throw this plot point out of the window and don't talk about it. I don't know if they will address it in the second season, but it exists. And so at this point they actually have not really a heart-to-heart, but they have a more decent conversation. And basically they, even though Kuku doesn't like her much, even though she likes her, it's complicated. She basically doubts her, she pep talks her into being the center of the group for that one song. And so they present their first song at the preliminary stage of Love Live, and I would say that's a pretty nice song. Specifically that one song, it's pretty nice, same as when they added Chisato, pretty nice. And then we have, this is a pretty strange mini arc with the two episodes, episode 10, episode 11, where Kanon had that problem that she couldn't sing in public because she had stage fright, and she has this whole complex where not only she choked it up in the audition, she fainted. And so she fainted in more instances, and so at some point they are getting big with Love Live with stuff. Important to say that at episode 11, I think they basically throw the ball that, oh, you already saved the school, no problem there. Yeah, it doesn't matter really if you win Love Live, and that's plot point that I just couldn't let up not saying. The whole thing kind of goes in a way that they are getting big, and someone from their middle school asks them to actually sing for the kids. And in the in-between of doing that, Chisato remembers that the first time that Kanon fainted from her stage fright and created this whole complex that she needed to actually she needs to overcome this kind of fear to actually be herself again. Because at this point they say that Kanon can only sing at this point being a school idol because she's not alone, but she's not really the Kanon that saved Chisato or Chisato remembers. And so to solve that, they will basically use some shock therapy basically to actually, they bail on her on the day. They all get excuses to, oh, I can't really present, and so on and so forth. And so she has to present alone in their middle school to all the kids. And we have one really cute scene where she sees herself, she as high school student, she sees her younger self, and it's pretty cute. I always find this kind of scene really cute, where the person actually sees herself and she actually comes out to the stage, actually sings well. The song itself, I will not talk much about it because it's really a cappella. It's not, I don't actually think it is an actual song from Love Live itself, even though it could be, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter the song. But the scene at the very least, it felt really close. And here comes me talking about Idolmaster again. It feels really close to the end of Cinderella Girls, where Izumi has the breakdown and then she needs to come back, and then we have her coming out to the stage singing, smiling. It feels like the same scene, but in another franchise. And I mentioned that it feels really close to that. It's the same energy, same stuff happening. Although I would say the Idolmaster did it better with better development, but even though that is the same energy, they did a decent job either way. And then we have episode 12, where basically they need to present to the regional phase of Love Live, and so they're basically competing to be the Tokyo representatives of Love Live. And we have a pretty frictionless episode. It's pretty safe, it's pretty cute. The whole thing kind of works around them having to train a new song and so on and so forth, and having a new theme and the whole thing. We have the traditional, and this is a tradition that I think in specific I don't mind. I think it's kind of nice that they have. It's that one scene where all the girls from the school basically open up the path for the girls from the idol club to actually go present in Love Live. I always think that scene is pretty nice, actually. The original one they had, where the girls basically took out the snow, then in Sunshine was I think the Orange Orchard, where they actually take the kind of roller coaster stuff, the train stuff. It was okay. This one, they actually do a whole thing where it's snowing, they light up candles to basically light up the path. It's pretty nice, the presentation, the release. And then they present the last song of the season. I will say I will give that song A+ on the basis that the one thing that really takes me to the original one, Love Live, and the one thing that the original Love Live actually had going for it is no halation. I think, even though it's not really my jam, really, the song itself is pretty nice. And easy to say, they did No Halation V2. I don't actually know the name of the new song, sorry. But the song's pretty nice. The presentation is actually pretty nice. The 3D this time, they actually do more 3D than Nijigasaki did. But again, I will not enter on that yet. I want to actually do this in all one go. The thing is, they do it, they actually fail. And this is the major spoiler. They actually fail to enter Love Live this time. So the whole thing kind of doesn't work out, but it already worked out because they saved the school already. But then Kano has this one really nice, I would say it's a really nice reaction, because she actually wants to win. And basically this is a whole build up for the second season, where Kano actually wants to win because she wants to win. And this, I can't really describe how the scene goes on, but it is really nice. The way that she delivers it, it's pretty good. That being said, that's the whole story for the first season. And so next episode, we'll talk about the second season. Now, from my opinion and the whole thing. So the first thing, I need to actually talk about the problems of this thing. First thing, the whole trope about closing the school. Please stop it. Goddamn, please do something different. I remember when we were talking in the Discord and watching it, when she mentioned that the money was running out, I was like, oh, please don't say that the school's closed. Oh, please don't say the school's closed. And then she said, oh my god, this anime is actually bad. And the whole thing it goes down from there. The whole thing goes down basically on the 7th episode, where she finishes the episode saying that the school is going to close down. And then in the 8th episode, she actually gives the explanation of where her parents are. And the whole explanation that where her parents are goes on for like one whole minute. And then we go to the opening. It was like really short, no explanation whatsoever on what happened to the school to come to this situation, how much time we have, how many students we already have applicants, and so on and so forth. The whole thing kind of feels really rushed just to throw out the point. It feels like, and I will say that because it feels like they have this checklist that they need to throw out this kind of bullshit. It's a Love Live anime, so we need to actually do it, to actually do the other things. Because at the release, and this is already a good point, this season actually has actual development from the characters. We have multiple episodes of development and actual doing stuff and presenting characteristics from our characters, presenting characters as characters, presenting the whole thing really well done for the most part. And we still have this bullshit, like, come on. We have like development from Kuko doesn't actually have development because she never stops really talking, and I think they will address her specific plot point at the second season. I think we have a whole plot point about Chisato, which was really nice and really cute. We have a whole thing with Sumire, which was really nice to watch. The episode is not really that cute because they are really rude with each other for the most part, but it is really nice at the end. And we even have a kind of a breakdown and rebuild of canon at the end of the season. I mean, why couldn't you just do that? Why do you need to actually bring the fucking school closing down point again? It is not even resolved by the girls. It's resolved off screen. At some point, the director just calls her and says, "Oh, your dad is actually super rich now, and he's going to send funds for the school and so you can continue living here." Like, come on, why do you need to do that? That aside, we have some other logistics that go... most of the problems center around the student council president Ren, because, man, they really roughed her up for this. So we have a flashback that just happens in a really specific time. The whole thing is, the reason why she didn't like the idea of the school idol club is because she thought that her mom hid the records from the original club because she regretted it, and then she didn't want anyone to do it because if her mother, as the founder of the school, regretted it shouldn't be nice. Then we have this whole thing where they actually find a case stowed away inside the club room, really old stuff, locked with a key that actually has the records. And so they do this really over-the-top scene where Ren is actually saying all that on a stage to all the girls in the school, and Kanon comes with the records, shows her, and then she starts crying. It's really over-the-top, really what the fuck. And in that one scene, she has one flashback that her mother's saying that being an idol is the best thing ever, and she didn't actually remember that. Like, she just remembers that now. Like, what the fuck? And so the whole thing kind of doesn't work out, really. And that being said, now the second thing. Somehow her mother was both the founder of the school and one of the students. I don't know how that happens. They never explain it. And they just throw it out the window. No mention of it whatsoever. And the whole thing, kind of, how does her money tie up to the school? It's really messed up. They really roughed her character up in this. It was really hard to watch in this instance where some parts just don't actually make any sense, really. Though they shattered basically the suspension of disbelief, let's say. Now, talking about the good things, the songs are pretty nice. The art style, it is really close to the original one, but it is not. They actually got, I think, a new artist to actually do the whole art direction and stuff. So the girls, although they are really close to the original, let's say, classic Love Live art style, they are somewhat different. I would say it's somewhat close to Nijigasaki in a way. So it's a fusion between the original one and the new one. Then the songs actually, as I already said, pretty nice for the most part. Some are plain, some are not, some are better than others. Bound to happen. The opening and the ending, personally, nothing to write home about. Now, talking about the characters, I think Sumire is way too close to Yohane from Sunshine. Some of the plot points really feel way too close to Sunshine. Some of them are straight up retreads, I think. Then Kano, I think it's pretty nice, even though her color palette is basically chicas somewhat. That's not nor here nor there, but you know, some things I just noticed. Ren doesn't actually have any development. She becomes really another whole character after she joins up the club, but she doesn't actually have many lines, so I can't really judge her. As I already said, Kuku just steals the show. She's really like Mako from Kill la Kill. It's really funny because she's funny. And let me get this straight. She's funny. She talks in Chinese sometimes. It's really funny how they actually make fun of that sometimes. And the whole thing kind of works out. She has this just nuts ideas where at one point they actually go into Love Live. When they actually apply for Love Live, she runs up to the roof and randomly just cuts a rope, and then a huge flag goes like, the group's name is Liera, right? So Liera's going to Love Live and so on and so forth. And then at some point something really happens in the same episode where she just goes and cuts up the same rope to review a second thing. Like, how did she get the second poster done? They just like got the news from whatever, and she already has the flag done. It's really nice. She's really funny in general. I think Canon is a really, really good main protagonist for the series. She is the main protagonist for the most part. The whole thing kind of works around her and her alone. It's not really like the original one or Sunshine, where the girls actually had let's say independent plot points, the groups more had independent plot points. This one feels like Canon is really the main girl, because everything really depends on her. It's not really a bad thing, but it's something that I need to mention. Chisato actually doesn't have any more development after her own arc, and I think that's mostly it. The whole thing kind of feels really close to Sunshine in some points. It feels, some plot points just feel unnecessary, though I would say, and I need to actually give credit where credit is due, this anime is pretty good in its own right. I think it is pretty easy to watch, it's pretty nice, pretty good, it's good entertainment all things considered. I just feel like it under-delivered, considering that Nijigasaki, the first season at the release of Nijigasaki, came out before it, and Nijigasaki was way better. But I mean, I don't know what happens inside of Sunrise for they to do that, but it is what it is. All things considered, I still have a second season to review, and they apparently have a third season to come out, while Nijigasaki only has another 2 movies. Go figure, I don't know. But then that's about it. Thank you guys for listening, thank you guys for watching. Please share, please follow, please subscribe depending on the platform you're in, and I hope you stick around for next time. Bye.